All right, g'day, hi, and welcome. Okay, keeping on with my inventory stuff, and what I got here is my multimeter, and it's all tangled up. Now, I'm not an electrician, and I'm not licensed mechanic or like that. But one thing I got to tell you, this is probably one of the most handy tools you could ever possibly get. This and a test light, which my test light is downstairs, but the one I bought my dad for Christmas a couple of years ago, and I bought one for my brother. Here it is. Every prepper should have at least these two items, at least. There are other things you can get too. Line surge detectors. You can get, you name it. Sky's the limit. But these two tools are very extremely useful, and it doesn't matter which ones you get. You can get a cheap one. This one was a pretty good one because I do use them quite a bit. The other thing I would get is a battery load tester. They're like $50 now. They used to be like 25. If you hunt around, you might find some on sale or whatever, 30 bucks. Buy a cheap one will probably do most people. If you buy a good one, it'll last you a lifetime because you only use it a handful of times, right? But yeah, stuff like this is really good to have. I don't see a lot of preppers talking about these kind of things. I see a lot of like gadgets and stuff to buy, that you would use, but this is the stuff that keeps the gadgets going. These are the gadgets that keep the thingamajiggies, the whatchamacallits, and the dingle-doo-hoppers moving. You know what I mean? That's what this stuff is. And I find most preppers kind of go to the end product without considering, and I'm not bashing anybody or like that, so don't take it like that. But I find they're not thinking of, like, if you were totally off grid, okay, well, you'd obviously, this thing requires batteries, right? So you might want to get a rechargeable battery for it. Pain in the ass changing batteries in this thing because you got to unscrew it and all that. But it's just like, I think this one just takes a little 9-volt, I think. I can't remember what's in there, but yeah, I'll check it out again. And, keep your equipment in good running order. If you buy a multimeter, buy a few spare leads. You will burn them out. You will, you're just going to pull on it the wrong way one day, and you're going to pull the end out, and yeah, things like that happen. But like, for example, this one is still, there we go. It's still on. There you go. Turn it off. This is only maybe about 3 years old, so this is the best one I've ever owned. I usually bought the cheap ones for like $8, $10 or whatever. This one I think I paid about $50 for. I'm glad I did. It is a really nice one. But the leads, these are pretty generic, which is nice. But these are I think they're like 12 gauge in there, whatever it is. It doesn't take much to wreck them. They just short out over time. It's just, it's a tool, right? These things, they burn out. I think I got this for like $5, $6. Buy a couple of them. Keep them in the package. Use them only when you need them. But you probably get another thing I would get is a soldering gun. Again, I'm going through everything I own, and the tool angle of it, I think, is almost more important than the actual products. Like, you see everybody getting, like, I'll use Canadian Prepper as an example. How am I doing for time here? Not too bad. He does a lot of, like, camping products, a lot of, survival products and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, that's good and great. And then again, I'm not bashing the man at all. I think he does a great job. But I don't see too many people saying, yeah, but do you have your multimeter? Do you have your, maybe he has done that, I don't know. Maybe other people have done it, I don't know. But I don't see it as much, you know what I mean? Like, I see that, okay, get this power inverter, get, like all those things. Those things are great too. But if your power inverter, which I have some downstairs, which I'll review, I've never used them. I bought them for my boat, and I never hooked them up. But I have like a 5,000 watt power inverter and a 1,000 watt power inverter. Never used, still in the box. But what happens if those things don't work in a grid down situation? Well, this is the tool that finds out, and this is the tool that finds out what's broken. You know what I mean? Like, or to help. So these are like the supporting role tools, the tools that keep the tools moving so that you can maintain an off-grid. How do you test a solar panel? You need one of these. You can get the clamp meters. They're a lot more expensive. You can take it to ridiculousness if you want. You can buy $3,000 clamp meters and stuff like that. But you could also buy the cheap stuff too. That, you know, like if you're likely to, like these light testers, I mean, if you just don't know if there's power going through something, that you know, 12 volt, these are good. 110 volts a little bit trickier. You can do it with these, but you have to know there are meters that are meant more for the AC power stuff. This is more like DC power, and although you can do AC power with this one. If you don't know the differences, again, that's the whole learning curve of prepping, is learn about a little bit about electrics and stuff like that. I will be covering like light basics of, say, electric motors, AC motors, and you know what the wires mean and stuff like that. Because I am savvy in you know, like electricity and stuff like that, to the point I know enough to be dangerous. You know what I mean? I know enough to be dangerous. You know, we'll get into that stuff later on. But right now, as I'm going through my stuff and just everything in the house, I mean, if let's say 2021 turns out to be a really bad year and you're really off grid, it's nice to know that you have stuff, so when things breaks, you can deal with it. And the other thing is that you're not running out and buying this stuff if you already have it. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I find bags with the receipt still in it, everything's still in the box. Like this was a Christmas gift to my dad. I bought myself one, my brother one, and whatever. I usually always buy, whenever I do gifts for like my brother or my dad or anybody, I always try to buy them something they can use at some point, not just a nothing gift. And you know, like stuff like that, if you're a prepper, maybe you want to consider stuff like that as gifts for people that you think that, you know, like you're subliminally helping them to prep and they don't know it. You know what I mean? But yeah, these are great things. Multimeter, you know, currency tester, if you want a current tester, you could, there's so many flavors of these things. A continuity tester, my uncle has a cool thing. It's about the size of a pen, and you just go near a wire, and it'll tell you it can tell you from like 5 feet away whether there's power going through it or not. It's incredible, and I don't think he paid very much for it. You know what I mean? I'd like to get one of those. Why? Safety. Let's say it's a grid down situation, and there's a storm. It doesn't have to be shtf. It could just be a storm or whatever, and the power line's down, and you got to get out of there. Okay, and you have something that could just tell you if the power line is live if you can't tell, because you can't tell by looking at it unless there's sparks flying off it, right? But like maybe you think the power's out and you use something like that where you're not close to it, but you can, it's registering power. So then you know to avoid it, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Rescue crews use stuff like that. There's all kinds of, because I mean, many a firefighter has been killed by going through an area thinking the power's out, and then, you know, rub up against or step on a plate that's hooked to, you know, something live, you know what I mean? Where if they could test for it without touching it, again, those are good preps to have. But you might already have that in your house, right? So this isn't those things, but that's just an example. But yeah, definitely highly recommend getting yourself one of those. And a battery load tester if you can. I don't have one of those yet, but I will. All right, there you go.